And look, as for our Prime Minister, didn't hear the news that his legacy project, the constitutionally entrenched Indigenous voice, went down last year in a whopping 60-40 defeat? Well, apparently not, because there he was in the 7:30 report last night saying that the no vote was just a vote against a particular model and that he's looking for, and I quote, other ways to achieve the same result.
I think that it wasn't a vote against reconciliation. It was a vote against a particular model, and some of that was about the way that that was demonstrated to the public, of course, a considerable fear campaign about what was a non-binding advisory committee. But we accept the outcome and we continue to look for other ways to achieve the same result.
Such revisionism. Today we learn that despite that overwhelming defeat, the Productivity Commission, the government's main policy advisor, still wants governments to put local Aboriginal groups in charge of Indigenous policy and programs. This latest report from the PC says that governments must share decision-making with Indigenous communities. Closing the gap, it says, requires governments to relinquish some control over decisions and to trust that in doing so, they are enabling better outcomes for Aboriginal people. But this kind of separatism is exactly what Australians voted against last year, against treating Australians differently on the grounds of our ancestry. The gap between Indigenous life expectancy, employment, education and income attainments and those in the rest of the country doesn't exist because no one listens to Aboriginal voices. It exists because about a quarter of the people claiming Aboriginal ancestry live in very remote places, places where there are no jobs, places where government has to build every house, provide the cars, provide every single service. Very remote places where there is no economy to sustain a viable community. Hence, there's near universal unemployment and the social issues that sustained idleness almost always brings in its wake. Now, far from being a function of white privilege, the gap comes from failing to integrate Aboriginal people into the mainstream of modern Australian life. And until the Aboriginal people are encouraged to make the most of all the opportunities that modern Australia gives us, they'll be poorer and less healthy on average than everyone else. But as for the PM, he seemed determined to push on with Indigenous separatism and a treaty process, regardless of your vote last year. It's as though democracy doesn't even matter to him.